Hey everybody, so I'm back. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Miles. I am with Exotic Carsmith Automotive Maintenance and Custom Fabrication School. And we're just going to be doing another quick edition of our videos. And this one's going to be a little bit more in depth. We're just going to go a little bit more about diagnosing problems with your battery or your charging system. Now, we've all been there. You get in your car, turn the key, ready to start it up, and all you get is clicking from your starter. What that clicking is the solenoid and the starter trying to engage the starter to actually turn the motor over. But there isn't enough electricity in the battery to do that. So the solenoid keeps engaging and disengaging, and that's the clicking sound. So we're just gonna do a quick video to kind of go through the system so you can figure out if the problem is with your battery or if the problem is with your charging system, or if the problem is actually with the starter itself. So I'm just gonna shut this off real quick, get things set up, and yeah, we're gonna just dive right into it and do a nice short video. Thanks for listening. Alright, so for this video we're just going to be using our Mitsubishi Galant again, and you're going to need one of two tools to get this diagnosis done, and that's either a voltmeter, which is the orange one. It's actually a multimeter, but we're going to be using it to measure voltage. Or you're going to need a battery analyzer. Now that tool is very useful. It is a little bit more expensive. Well, this one was about $90 on Amazon on sale, so it's not too bad. And I mean, technically the multimeters, if you get up into the really good ones, you're looking at $300-400 for a good multimeter, but you can pick up a basic one for 20 bucks. So yeah, we're going to use the multimeter first, just going to go through the steps, and then we're going to use the battery analyzer just to kind of show you the difference between the tools and some of the advantages of the battery analyzer. Alright, so we got things pretty much set up here. So let's just kind of go over what it is that you're looking for. So a good healthy battery, when you test the voltage on it, will read right around 12 volts. If it's reading around 9, that means that the battery is dead, which, of course, if your car won't start, you already know that. So you're just kind of looking for how many volts the battery is actually putting out. Now, there are some limitations to what that is telling you, because you're only checking the volts. You're not checking how many amps the battery is putting out. And amps is actually the important part. That's the actual amount of electricity that the battery is able to put out to turn the motor over. So again, healthy battery will read around 12 volts, dead battery around 9. Now, once you get the car started, which, if your car isn't starting from the dead battery, you're going to have to jump start it first. And we've done a video earlier on how to properly, safely jump start your car. So if you do need to do that, go ahead and view that video. But once you get your car started, the voltage that you measure at the battery with the engine running should read probably right just over 14 volts. If it's reading a little bit under 14 volts, that might be a little bit of a concern, but it should be above 14 volts. So if your car, if the engine's running and the battery is still reading 12 volts, then that means that your charging circuit, there's a problem in your charging circuit. Most likely the alternator isn't putting out any voltage, isn't putting out any amperage. So let's check the voltages and see if this car is operating the way it should, which this car is. This is just a hypothetical problem that we're trying to diagnose. So let's check the voltages so you can see what it is that I'm kind of talking about, and we'll go from there. So we got our multimeter hooked up, and now we're just going to check the voltage of the battery with the engine off. Now you want to make sure, polarity does matter. Black is negative, red is positive. So just go ahead and touch the probes to the terminals. And as you can see, this is reading almost 13 volts. So this should be a healthy battery. Like I said again, we're not checking the amperage, which is the important part, but this is an indication that the battery should be healthy. Okay, so now let's get the engine started, and we'll check the voltages again. Okay, so we got the engine started. So we're just going to touch the probes to the terminals again and see how much voltage we're getting. And as you can see, it's reading 14.5 volts. So that indicates that the charging circuit is in good condition and the alternator is putting out the proper amount of electricity to charge the battery and run all the systems in the car. Now again, with the engine running, if we check this, and this was still reading 12 volts or less, then there is a problem with the charging circuit, and most likely it's the alternator. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the engine off right now so that we don't have the noise from the engine going on, and we'll continue. So there is an old school trick to diagnosing these problems without the use of a multimeter. Now I wouldn't recommend this on newer cars. If you have a car that was manufactured probably before 1990, this was a trick that we used to use. What we would do is we would jump start the car, get it running, and then with the engine running, disconnect the battery. Now once the battery is disconnected, if the engine keeps running, that tells you that the alternator is generating plenty of electricity to run the engine and all the systems. So that would tell you that the charging circuit is okay and the battery is the problem. Now if you disconnected the battery and the engine would immediately die, that told you that there's a problem in the charging circuit and the alternator isn't putting out any electricity, and the engine was running solely off of the electricity that was in the battery. So like I said, that was an old school trick that we used to use a long time ago. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it with modern cars because there's so many systems, so many computers that are monitoring everything, running everything, and they are very sensitive. They run on extremely small voltages and amperages, so they're very sensitive to spikes in power. So by disconnecting the battery, you're technically breaking the circuit. So you could cause damage to other systems that you weren't intending on causing damage to or having to repair. So like I said, if you own an old car, that was the old school trick that we used to do. Newer cars, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So that's how you would use a multimeter to diagnose these problems. Now I'm going to hook up the battery analyzer, and we'll see what the differences in the differences between using a multimeter and a battery analyzer. All right, so here we are in the car, and we have our battery analyzer hooked up. And when you hook these up, you always want to take the clamps on the battery terminals and kind of wiggle them a little bit, just to make sure that you have a good connection. So you can see that this analyzer hooked up with the motor not running and no tests being conducted. The battery is reading 12.3 volts, which would indicate a healthy battery. So we're just going to go into the menu here, and what we want to do is select battery test, and next we want to select the system type. Is it a 12 volt or 24 volt? Which, you know, cars, they're all 12 volt systems. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And what kind of a test do we want to run? We just want to run a regular test. And is the battery out of the vehicle or in the vehicle? It's obviously in the vehicle. And what type of battery connection does it have? Does it have the posts on top of the battery, or does it have side posts? This one has top posts. So we're going to do that. And what kind of a battery is it? Is it just a regular battery, or is it a gel type battery? This one's just a regular. Now, what are we looking for? Are we looking for here? Let's see. We're looking for what type of battery amperage are we going to be checking for? CCA stands for cold cranking amps. CA is just cranking amps. The rest of these are different settings. Oh, sorry. Back. Gotta do this all over again. So CA is cold cranking amps. CCA is just cranking amps. The rest of these are just different settings. The JIS is for Japanese cars. So there's like you can see there's 8 different settings. We're just gonna go for cold cranking amps. Actually, let's do cranking amps. It'll be faster to set up. Okay, now it's actually it's already set up. So let's go back. We're going to do cold cranking amps. And this battery is supposed to have 665 cold cranking amps. What that means is that it's putting out 665 amps at low temperatures, like wintertime temperatures. So we're just going to go with that. 665 cold cranking amps, and it's running its test, and it says the battery is good, but it needs a recharge. You can see 12.3 volts, 628 cold cranking amps, rated at 665. Okay, so now we're going to press enter and run some more tests. Okay, it's asking us to start the engine. Cranking is normal. Took 1.16 seconds. And now we're going to do a charging test. You can see the cranking, the starting test was 11.1 volts and completely normal. So now we're going to do a charging test, and what this is going to do is test our charging circuit. Make sure that the alternator is working and all of the systems in the charging circuit are working. So we're going to hit enter. Okay, we're going to hit enter. Load's off. That means that the lights are off, the radio's off, climate control is off. So now we're going to turn on the high beams. And now we're going to hit enter. Oh, sorry. And now it's checking the alternator output with loads on. And now we're going to turn the loads off again. And hit enter. And as you can see, there are no problems in the charging circuit. No load voltage is 14.38. Voltage with loads on is 14.3. So the charging circuit is working properly, alternator is working properly, batteries in good health. It just needed a little bit of a charge. So basically, this is how you would go through and analyze the charging and battery circuit. So let me just turn this all off and we'll just wrap this video up real quick. Alright, so that was just a quick, easy video on how to diagnose charging circuit problems, dead battery problems, and you can see how useful that battery analyzer tool is. It definitely makes your job much easier. It'll pinpoint the problem. It'll tell you exactly what needs to be done to fix the problem. And it's not that expensive. Like I said, that one was $90 on Amazon. And I think that was probably about the most expensive one they had. So you can get cheaper ones than that. Of course, they will not have all of the features and all of the capabilities that this one did. Multimeters, you can pick up the cheapest one, probably around 20 bucks. And they will go all the way up to a few $100s for a fluke type meter. So just to summarize, basically what you're looking for is for the proper voltages. Dead battery will have around 9 volts or so, which if your car won't start, you already know it's dead. A healthy battery should be putting out over 12 volts. And with the engine running at the battery terminals, you should be reading over 14 volts if everything's working properly. So if you're not reading the 14 volts, you know that there is a problem in your charging circuit. Yeah. Kind of lost my train of thought there for a second. The battery analyzer, of course, makes everything, tests everything right at once, all at once, gives you the voltages and tells you exactly what needs to be done to fix the problem. Obviously, you know, if your alternator is putting out 14 volts and the charging system is working properly and your battery still won't hold the charge and still won't put out enough electricity to turn the motor over, then the problem is with your battery. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I hope you like our channel, and if you do, please subscribe. It's just hitting the button underneath this video. We would definitely appreciate to have you as one of our regular viewers. And as I keep repeating, you know, once we find our permanent shop, we will be posting a lot more in-depth videos on different types of automotive maintenance, all the way up to automotive restoration and custom fabrication. So like I said, we would love to have you as a regular viewer, and yeah, we look forward to many more videos and having a long-term relationship with everybody. With that being said, have a wonderful afternoon, and we will talk to you later.